You, Riv, I have to say, I mean, the 0-2 start by Cloud9, uncharacteristic of them, the first time that's ever happened. And I have to agree with Saint in his point that I really feel Cloud9, fumbled there in the champion select. They ban away Jarvan and Gnar on blue side, all to pick Rek'Sai, and then end up with this 2 damage dealing comp that is fairly immobile, like you said.
Yeah, and a big part of that, too, is they picked up this composition after Morgana was picked in the first round by Gravity. It was really, really strange.
The only thing I didn't really like is the Sion in this team. And it wasn't just the pick of Sion. I don't like Thornmail on him because he's not the type of tank that has anything to force the enemy AD carry to attack you. He's full tank Sion, like they kept on mentioning. You can dodge all of his abilities. They're fairly slow. And especially if you have a AD carry that's got a built-in jump, it's usually pretty easy to get around him if he is like your main person trying to lock them down. And then he doesn't put out any damage. If you build something like anything else, like even a Tiamat, a Hydra or something, even if your Sion dies, he does way more damage when he dies. So
you're looking for Sion players to make their build the reason why their backline has to deal with you.
Yeah, have some sort of threat there with that tank, because a tank is all about only as good as, he can either zone the AD carry, which you have to have some CC abilities that are really threatening, or you're going to have some damage that you can deal with them. That situation, he didn't really have either of those. That being said, I love the way that Balls played the early game. He got giant CS lead, crushed it up there, gave away an extra kill just because he was so focused on getting so much CS.
Yeah, you're looking for the Iceborne Gauntlet on him. Make people, like a little more kiting for that to protect the Kog'Maw. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, that Hydra, anything that gives you
special.
Frozen Mallet, who cares?
But that too is also worrisome. The fact that he was up, as Jat said, at 1.90 CS. I mean, early 90 to 45, double the CS that early in the game is just humongous. It is worrisome that Cloud9 is struggling to take these early game advantages that they find themselves with and convert them to victories.
Yeah, they did it yesterday too when they had the better lane swap. They come out on top because they're better at freezing lanes and kind of making advantages there. But then when the junglers kind of get in the mix, it seems like the enemy jungler usually is just one step up over Remedios at these times, ganking the mid lane. And that's where we see these advantages coming from in these last 2 games.
I did feel kind of bad for Hai because he was doing really well in the mid lane, early levels, and then they take that little excursion into the enemy jungle following Medios that really turned it around, got them in trouble, and that was what, kind of all started the downpour there.
Right, immediately following, there was another gank mid. Everyone piled in on top of Hai. This is not to take anything away from Gravity, because if we jump to their side, day and night, the difference between their play yesterday, as Saint mentioned in the interview, their play against Winter Fox, where he felt it was very challenger level, like we're just going to bash our heads against the wall until it works or lose. And then today, a much more methodical approach to being behind and turning the game around.
The thing is, it was actually fairly similar. It's just that it worked this time when they went with the kills. They still went. He went super ham. He was flashing in. He would Q, then flash, then get the ultimate off, but they had the follow-up this time. 2 solo lane assassins. They have the damage. All that Vi has to do is hold down the AD carry for a second. He got to sneaky. He would either get some summoners or something out. Even if Vi goes down after that, the assassins can easily take him out. And once the assassins start getting fed, that's where the team really shines. This is really just the difference between the aggression when they were too far behind to make it work yesterday, and they actually made the first step this time.
Let's pull a replay up because we've got a couple that kind of illustrate this point. We're going to go 20 minutes into the game. We're going to the mid lane, and Kobe, I'm going to let you take this one away. First example of Gravity kind of turning the game on its back in terms of retaking control.
All right, let's take a look. Midline. Oh, yeah, here we go. So Saint's already charging up his Q, as you can see, over in the side. Let's roll the clip. Flash Q there from Bunny. Just barely hits Medios, but you can see Saint's eyes are always right on Sneaky. Cop is on the top side, coming in as a flank. Jack kept mentioning the multiple angles that they were going to attack Sneaky from. You can see everybody swarming into that back line. And for this fight, Balls actually had to ult into it because he wasn't there at the beginning. So that's one of the only ways where Sion could be an effective front line is if he was already there and already being able to hit a slow and try and charge up his Q. Then he would at least have a whack, could take a whack at trying to peel for Sneaky and keep him safe. But this one wasn't even there. I like the immediate initiation from Gravity, no hesitation there, and they jump on the back line.
Yeah, and Hai ended up missing a shockwave there, only hit Bunny Fufu with it, and then he was completely out of mana and couldn't do anything from that point on. Also, I like how they're assigning their assassins. Keen is putting pressure on Hai, and then you have Hanser run in to get the slow onto Sneaky, and then he also has their their jungler, St. Vicious, on Sneaky as well. So they're dedicating 2 people to shut down that Kog'Maw, and then nobody really has anywhere to go with their damage threats at that point.
And it's so important that they also used Corki as their AD carry because he has the longest range dash as of AD carries, and he was almost a semi-assassin himself. Since Corki builds right into Trinity Force, a little bit more durable, and then he usually builds Blade of the Ruined King right after, so he's a little bit, an assassin of AD carries as well. You can see he was fine coming in from a flank himself, that fight.
We're going to pull up our second replay and get right into it. Zyrene, I know you wanted to take this one away. 25 minutes into the game, mid lane, another great example of the commitment to the team fight by Gravity.
Yeah, and this is basically more of the same of what we were just talking about. You're going to end up seeing St. Vicious go with the hard engage, the flash, the Q, the R onto Sneaky, and then take the fight away from there. Well, it'll be pulled up on your screens in just a second here. All right, here we go. All right, so we can start rolling the clip right now because Saint is going to come out from Fog of War, flash, Q. Then he's like, well, I'm not done with you, Sneaky. R's in. And then they still assign their assassins in the same way. You're going to see Keen right onto Hai. And then Hai, he gets so much pressure on him, he gets his shockwave off the animation, but it doesn't actually do anything. And then Morgana's in there, Bunny, Fufu, everybody's trying to run away, and he's just their extra insurance with the AoE slow. So I love the way they're splitting their assassins and going after the damage threats, and then it's just these tanky, moderately tanky cleanup here.
It's incredible how deep St. Vicious went into that fight in the beginning without, you actually notice the backup for that fight didn't come for quite a while. And it is that kind of like that decisiveness, but also how much it caught C9 off guard that prevented them from being able to deal with the initial threat of Vi in the backline.
And even so, you notice how close that fight was. And this is later in the game when Gravity are more fed. That fight that Cloud9 were actually set up to defend this one, and they were so close to actually pulling that one out. If the shockwave does go off, and they're able to get that split second of CC on both mid lane assassins, then they would have a much better chance in this one. Sneaky would have been able to take one person down. It almost worked out. I think that the small tip that they needed might have been an exhaust spell from Hai in the mid lane rather than an ignite. The ignite that he took didn't really help them that much getting any sort of solo kills or anything like that. And when you're against this many assassins, the more exhaust the better, because actually in that fight, Lemon used his on Vi, which didn't block very much damage. May have saved it for Zed, but if they had to, then Hai could have used it on
Yeah,
Zed.
I completely agree with that. And something else here, too, for Gravity is they had so many damage threats, but they were all of the hard engage. Cloud9 really had no way to start these fights because of the Scion and against the Morgana, so they were able to secure themselves every dragon because they went up to it and they're just like, all right, if you're going to come in and fight us, we'll peel off dragon, go immediately after you. We saw that when they were trying to contest Baron, that Gravity was in the pit and kept pulling off of it like, all right, Cloud9, you want to go? You want to go? You want to go? And every time Cloud9 was like, well, you know, we have to back off because we're kind of split. And then they do a perfect split on their assassins. Like, I can't praise Gravity enough for the way that they played this composition because it is very hard to do. And one of the only teams I've seen being able to like pull it off effectively was like CJ Entus, not Frost.
One of the Blaze?
Blaze. There you go.
There you go.
They have Flame in the top lane.
Yes.
And, you know, all right.
CJ Entus Blaze.
And they no longer exist. So it's CJ Entus Blaze. They pulled it off when they had Akali, Zed, and Lee Sin, and they had triple assassin. I thought it was absolutely beautiful to watch. And then when I see it here from Gravity, I see little sparks of that.
Well, I have to say, a little bit worrisome from Cloud9. Two, you know, fairly solid starts in both of their games, but definitely falling off. You know, and coming out with losses across the week. And then, of course, over on Gravity, I have to commend them for really stepping up their play here on the second day of week 1, coming out of the week 1-1. Now, we'll see if we're in for any more surprises today. After the break, it's going to be Game 5 versus, or Team 8, rather, versus TSM. You're watching the NALCS, and we'll be right back.
Game 5, Team 8.
So many numbers.
Action continues now. Cloud9 versus Gravity. But there comes the engage. High gonna take a lot of damage. Shockwave will hit, but is it enough? No, St. Vicious picks up one. Bunny Fufu really going in for this one. One kill picked up. Sneaky's gonna be the second one. Wow, the assassins are working. Keen gets High as well. Everybody is dying. Here comes Zed. High takes a bunch of damage, already gone. Bunny Fufu, two-man stun. The follow-through is there. Down goes Sneaky. Meteos the target. He's gonna drop as well.
Nice. Nice.
Kill him. Cut.
Rex side dead, Rex side.
Cut. I'm pushing mid.
Nice.
Hell
yeah.
In the game.